My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. I appreciate you being with me so very, very much. We are continuing our study of the resurrection. We are doing so from the perspective that throughout Scripture, the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15, just as Paul does in 1 Corinthians 15, 30 and 31, puts his discussion of the resurrection of saying, if the dead are not raised, why are they baptized for the dead? What shall happen to those who are baptized for the dead? And why do I suffer? So Paul puts suffering, martyrdom, directly in the context of the resurrection, just as he does in Romans chapter 8. Where he says, I reckon that the suffering of this present time, not worthy to be compared with the glory that is about to be revealed. Just as he does in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, 16 and following. When Paul said that the suffering that they were enduring at that time, and the words that he uses for suffering are persecution. And he said, that suffering, that persecution, he said, works in us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. For though our outward man is perishing, our inner man is being renewed day by day. And he begins immediately to discuss, and there's no chapter break, to discuss what? For in this we groan, desiring to put off and to put on the new man, the new tabernacle, the resurrection. So Paul, throughout his epistles, links suffering and martyrdom with resurrection. I've been sharing with you over the last few videos the fact that the book of Revelation likewise posits and connects suffering and martyrdom with resurrection. I've shared with you that the martyrs under the altar in Revelation chapter 6 prayed for vindication at the day of the Lord, which they were told would be only in a little while. Revelation chapter 12, Satan, the great persecutors, cast down to the earth, pursuing the seed of the woman, was angry because he knew he had only a little while. Revelation chapter 17, technically chapter 16, or technically chapter 14, the hour of the judgment of Babylon had arrived. Her judgment was at hand. And Babylon, as I shared with you in the last video, was the city that had killed the prophets. The city is where the Lord was slain. It is the city that killed the apostles and the prophets of Jesus. I don't know how anything could be any more clear. But watch this. In Revelation chapter 17, this great city is called the Great Harlot, the Great Whore. Now, here's what you need to know. Number one, the background of the book of Revelation is absolutely, clearly, undeniably, the Old Testament. Some 440 references, allusions, citations, echoes of the Old Testament in the book of Revelation. Okay? Everyone knows that, or they should. And the book of Revelation draws extensively from Ezekiel, from Hosea, from books that use the term harlot in a very distinctive manner. As a matter of fact, the Hebrew word that is translated as harlot is used 91 times in the Tanakh, the Old Testament. 86 of those times, do you catch this? 86 of those times, it refers either to a literal wife that has become unfaithful to the marriage vow and contract and covenant, or, as in Hosea and Ezekiel especially, the books that Revelation draws from extensively, the word harlot is used to speak metaphorically of Old Covenant Israel, the wife of Yahweh, who had become unfaithful to the marriage covenant. Hosea chapter 2, speaking of the 10 tribes, the Lord said, she has become the harlot. She has played the harlot. That's the background. That's the source. You know, today, you and I have a tendency to hear the word harlot or whore, and we may think of porn stars. We may think of a simply, to use that word, simply an immoral woman. That is not the way the word was used in the ancient world. Could it be used that way? Well, yes. Was it most commonly used that way? No. It was most commonly used to refer to a wife, either literal or metaphoric, that had broken the marriage covenant. Now, if that is how the word harlot is being used in the New Testament, and oh, by the way, the book of Revelation depicts this woman, harlot city, as believing that she still has a relationship with God. What kind of relationship? Marriage relationship. I am no widow. Revelation 18. So ask yourself the question. When we are told, for instance, that Babylon in Revelation was Rome, then Rome must have had a marriage relationship with God. No, she didn't. When we are told that the Roman Catholic Church was Babylon, then that must mean that the Roman Catholic Church had had a marriage relationship with God. No, she didn't. We are told, hey, America, New York City, or the Eastern European Common Market or whatever, is Babylon. No, America has never been married through covenant with the Lord. There's only one entity that fits the bill. And look, when we understand that the book of Revelation, as I develop in my book, Who is This Babylon? When we understand that Yahweh had divorced the 10 tribes of Israel due to her becoming a harlot, and that he promised that in the last days he would likewise divorce Judah. Judah would have her harvest, Hosea 6, 9 and following, the same kind of harvest that the 10 tribes had had. Then when we come to the New Testament and we find Jesus referring to Jerusalem and his generation as what? The adulterous generation. 3 times. 3 times Jesus refers to his generation, to Jerusalem, Judea, and the Jews as adulterous. What does that mean? She is a wife that has broken the marriage covenant. No other city, no other entity fits. Now, what does that mean in regard to Revelation? As I've already shared with you, the fall of Babylon in Revelation is at the day of the Lord. The day of the Lord is for the destruction of Satan. The day of the Lord is for the avenging of the martyrs. Jesus said all of the blood of all of the martyrs would be avenged in his generation in the fall of Jerusalem. Jerusalem and Babylon. All of the blood shed on the earth. Jesus said, judgment of the living and the dead, all of the blood, and it will come upon you. That's the living, that's the dead. And the day of the Lord and the destruction of Satan would avenge the blood of the martyrs. In our next video, I'm going to show you how this demonstrates, illustrates, and proves that the end of the millennium resurrection was at the fall of Babylon, i.e., O covenant Jerusalem, in AD 70. In the meantime, go to my website, donkpreston.com, BibleProphecy.com. Order the book, Who is This Babylon? Look, this book has all of this and much, much more. Order the book. We'll see you on the flip side.